The perfect foundation, part 3. Too often, believers feel that taking the time to learn the Christ in them is wasted time. This is a trick of Satan and our erroneous self. The fact is that the more time we study the Christ life, the more the Holy Spirit can use us and teach us. Remember, the Holy Spirit is our main teacher, and He uses the scriptures to teach us. Here are some blessings of a firm foundation. When the believer has a good foundation, we will always be hungry for the things of God. A good foundation breeds hunger. The more a believer knows about the things of God, the more intriguing our life will be. This happens because we are coming into the life God created for us to live. A good foundation is not just knowing the Bible, it is knowing God and His Son, a Son who lives in the believer. There will always be people who know the Bible almost perfectly but never experience the thrill of Christ being their life. A believer must be careful at this point because religion will often have believers studying their system of doctrine and cause the believer to miss the main point of Christ living in them. Third, the Apostle Paul had a good foundation and was still crying to know Christ even at the end of his life. There is no such thing as a believer knowing all the Bible or believers knowing all of God's plan. Paul had developed in his lifetime such a love for the Christ in him that even in his death, he still wanted to know Christ. Fourth, when the believer recognizes that his foundation is Christ, that is when he begins to understand the plan of God. Most believers are going to live and die and never understand that God made them a special person who had been given a special plan for their life. The great knowledge begins when the believer receives a revelation that Christ is our life. Fifth, a good foundation will help the believer to know that everything that happens to us in life is a God situation. The circumstances and situations can either be a burden of life or they can be stepping stones into God's plan for the believer. Six, a good foundation will show us that our need is not to get an answer to every problem. Our need is to see more of the Christ that is in us. Whatever may happen to us, we can say to the Father that we are His offspring and we cannot handle this problem ourselves. Then the Holy Spirit will reveal more of the Christ who lives in us. Victory will come as we begin to see Jesus as our life. Seven, a good foundation will carry the believer through anything that God or the devil could raise up in life. If the foundation is Christ, then the believer is sealed into that foundation. Always remember we are God's offspring and He will take care of His own. To God be the glory. God bless you.